Self-confidence and self-worth are completely different. We so easily confuse the two, and understanding the difference is literally the one thing that will change everything in your life. There are so many of us, myself included, who have actually done so much great work to build self-confidence. But then we sabotage things, we stay stuck, we don't get what we want because we don't realize, oh, I have a whole lot of self-confidence, but I actually don't have strong self-worth. And they're very different. They're very, very different. So self-worth is truly the one thing that can change everything in your life. In your life, your relationships, your goals, your dreams, your ambitions, your amount of joy and fulfillment. So in Worthy, which is all about, how to believe you're enough and transform your life, there's simple steps that give life-changing results. There is an entire chapter called The One Thing That Changes Everything. And I break down, and I'm going to share right now in this video as well, but I go deep in here on breaking down the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. Both are important, but so many of us literally live our entire lives just building self-confidence. And then we never realize, why don't we feel like we're enough? We keep accomplishing more and more and more, and we finally do enough and have enough and become enough and all that, but we still don't feel like we're enough. It's because of not understanding the difference, and it's because of doing all the things that build self-confidence, but none of the things that build self-worth. So let me just break this down for a minute, because this is so important, okay? Self-confidence, while an internal trait, is actually based on so much happening around you externally, and it fluctuates all the time. Self-confidence, while an internal trait, is based on so much externally. So your self-confidence right now is based on things like your own assessment of your skills and abilities, your willingness to try and go for it. If you keep the promises you make to yourself, how you feel you stack up or compare to others, how much of the world's definition of success you believe you have. All those things impact your self-confidence. It can rise and fall quickly based on if you're winning or losing, right? There's studies that show the boxer who wins a match is automatically 30% more confident, right? Your confidence fluctuates. It's fragile. It's volatile. Your self-worth is the deep internal belief and knowing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Not as you achieve, not as what's happening all around you in the outside world, but knowing you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Another way to put this is self-confidence is your belief in your abilities as a person. Self-worth is your belief in your value as a person. Your self-worth is the foundation. Your self-confidence is the house you build upon it. But you'll only ever be as strong as the foundation that house is built upon. And here's what this looks like in our lives, right? So many of us, let me just ask you this question right off the top. Have you ever had something you really wanted, and you thought, if I eventually get that thing, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be fulfilled. Then I'll feel enough. Maybe it is a job title, or it's a certain number in the bank account, or it's, 6-pack abs, a certain goal weight. Maybe it is, running the triathlon or doing the triathlon. Maybe it's getting the white picket fence, or getting married, or, falling in love, or having 2.5 kids. Have you ever wanted that thing and just thought, one day when I get that, then I'll finally feel happy and fulfilled? And then, for so many of us, we've had those things and then we get the thing, right? For some of us, we work really, really hard for years and we finally get the thing. And let me ask you this, when you finally got the thing, then what happened? Were all your hopes and dreams did they miraculously happen? Were you happy and fulfilled and enough forever? Or did you feel this temporary high, followed by a slow descent back to feeling like something's missing and like you don't know what's missing, but you just feel like you're not enough and something's missing from your life. Okay, here's why. It's because in the pursuit of all those things, you built a whole lot of self-confidence, but none of those things build self-worth. Self-confidence is really, really important in life, as is growth, always growing in one area or another, as is contributing to something greater than yourself. Those three things are really important, but you multiply all those by your level of self-worth to get your level of ultimate fulfillment in life. Building strong self-worth is truly the one thing that changes everything. It's why I wrote Worthy. There's over 20 tools in here on how to build strong self-worth. Because here's the deal. When you don't, and by the way, there have been so many times in my life where I had so much confidence and I didn't understand why I didn't feel enough, or I didn't understand why I sabotaged an opportunity, or I didn't understand why I stayed stuck and didn't put my art or my ideas or my full expression of my business out there. It's because we will not, over time, we will not perform to the level of our potential. We will plateau at the level of our self-worth. Every time, over time. Every time, over time. It's why you've seen people out there in the world that can achieve everything, have every level of what the world defines success as, fame, fortune, whatever it might be. And they're not happy. And they're not happy, right? Strong self-worth is literally the one thing that changes everything. And if you are wondering if this is an issue in your life, there's really three ways that low self-worth can show up, right? One, if we have really, really, really low self-worth, we'll stay stuck. We'll know we have great ideas or we're deserving of an amazing romantic relationship, but we'll stay stuck in one that's not good for our soul. And we don't realize it's because we don't fully feel we're worthy of a great relationship, right? We'll stay stuck and not go after the thing. We'll stay stuck and not write the first word of our book that we know we're born to write. We'll just stay stuck and never go for the thing because we don't believe we're worthy of it. We don't realize that's what it is, but that's so often what it is. So that's one way, staying stuck, right? Another way is if we have, a little bit more self-worth, maybe low self-worth, we'll actually go for things and then we'll sabotage them. We'll meet a really incredible potential partner and we'll somehow mess it up or put them in the friend zone. We literally sometimes just aren't even attracted to them and we don't know why, even though they're a great person. It's because when deep down inside we have low self-worth, we don't believe we're worthy of it. Or we'll go after a big opportunity and we'll be so confident doing it, and then we'll just somehow sabotage it. And then if you have medium self-worth, but it's not quite high, you'll actually go for things. You'll accomplish them, right? You may even believe you're worthy of them. But if you only have medium level self-worth, you'll arrive at them and still feel like you're not enough. You'll still feel empty inside. There's so many people in marriages or in, incredible situations in their career where they feel like something's missing, like it's not enough. And they don't know what it is. So they think it's their partner or they think it's their job, right? What it is deep down inside, they haven't done the work to build strong, unshakable self-worth. Your self-worth is the one thing that literally changes everything. So step one is to be aware of the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. Your self-worth is your unremitting identity and your belief that you are enough exactly as you are. And by the way, when you learn to believe you're enough exactly as you are, it doesn't prevent you from being ambitious. It actually gives you more ambition because you're not afraid to fail because it doesn't impact your self-worth. You're not afraid to put yourself out there to go for things, even if you fall flat on your face, because that might hurt your confidence for a minute, but it does not determine your self-worth. Your self-worth is deep, it's internal, it's unwavering. It's why I wrote Worthy, because literally when you learn to build your self-worth, there's over 20 tools in here on how to do it. It is the one thing that transforms everything.
Self-confidence, self-worth. Can you talk about where each comes from and what the difference is and why that matters?
Yes. And it's funny because if I just heard someone say, oh, can you talk about the difference? I'd think, why is that such a powerful concept? But then when you get it, you're like, oh, whoa, you see your whole life unfolding before you. Exactly what you just said.
Exactly what happened to me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So many of us think we need more self-confidence, but what we really need is self-worth. And they are so different. And a lot of us, me, most of my life, I thought they were the same. And they are so different. And here's the thing is, for anybody who has ever had a goal or a dream or thought, when I finally get that thing, then I'm going to be happy and fulfilled. When I finally get that job title, that leadership role, that number in the bank account, the 6-pack abs, when I memorize every Bible verse, when I, get married and have kids, whatever it is that's a goal or a dream. And then you think when you get to that place, you're going to feel a sense of fulfillment. And then you get there. And then for a lot of us, we're like, okay, I was really happy for a minute, but now I feel like something's missing and I'm back to feeling like I'm not enough. And so our solution to that is I just got to work harder. I got to level up and do the next thing and the next thing. And we have this never ending cycle. And what we don't realize is that in the pursuit of all those things, while they're very important to fulfillment because we're growing and a lot of times contributing to others, we're building a lot of self-confidence in the pursuit of all those things. But none of them build self-worth, which is completely different. And for anybody who has achieved a lot, who has, had a lot of hopes and dreams and in their leadership, in their business, etc., but feels like in their faith, but still feels like, why is this feeling like it's not enough? Like I'm not enough, like something's missing. And by the way, a lot of people will leave a job because they think something's missing, or they'll leave a marriage.
A spouse, I was going to say, yeah, totally.
Spouse. They feel like, oh, something's missing in my marriage. It must be my partner. And they don't realize, oh, actually, I don't have self-worth. And let me just explain the difference in a big way and like what to do about it. How do you know if it's an issue in your life? So self-confidence, while an internal trait, is so much based on the external. Our self-confidence fluctuates. It's fragile. It's how we assess our skills and abilities, our willingness to try and go for it, how we feel we stack up and measure against others. How much of our definition of success we think we have, if we're winning or losing. And they do studies that show like the boxer is 30% more confident when he wins the match. And our confidence is fragile, and all the things that we learn from the world will make us happy, like the dream car, the bank account, or the 6-pack abs, or the relationship status. Like all of those things build confidence. And they fluctuate and etc. None of them build self-worth. Self-worth is the deep internal knowing and belief that we are fully worthy of love and belonging exactly as we are, not like exactly as God made us, not as our past mistakes or failures or, regrets, not as our successes and wins, but exactly as we are. And a couple of things about this that, a lot of people worry, well, wait a minute, if I believe I'm enough as I am, exactly as God made me, am I going to lose my ambition? Am I going to lose my edge? It's like, no, actually, you get so much more ambitious because our self-worth is our ceiling. And the higher your self-worth, like, you're so much more likely to go for things. If like, oh, I fall flat on my face, it goes horribly, miserably, it might shake my confidence, but it cannot touch my self-worth, because our self-worth is internal. It's rock solid. And I like to kind of explain it like our self-confidence is this house that we're building with all the rooms and the artwork and the things, all of the stuff on the outside. But our self-worth is the foundation, right? And our house is only ever as rock solid, as stable as the foundation that it's built upon. And when we learn like, oh my gosh, I thought, because for me, my whole life, I thought if I achieved enough, then I would finally feel enough, only to spend decades achieving a whole lot of stuff and never feel enough. And the way to feel enough is to build strong self-worth, because then you're actually fulfilled. You're feeling fulfilled while you're still pursuing all of the things, because your identity is not tied up in them. And that's so important. And really quick, the three big ways that self-worth can show up, struggles with self-worth can show up in our lives, because it's deceiving, right, to the world. We can be crushing it in our job, in our leadership, in our level of worldly success, all the things. And I know this from experience as well, but then deep down inside, internally, still feel like we're not enough and like something's missing. And so the three kind of main ways it shows up is if you have, really low self-worth, that often will look like we're stuck and we don't know why. And we want to write a book, but we just haven't started. We want to launch the company or raise our hand, but we're not sure why we're doing it. And we tell ourselves stories often like, oh, I've just got to get more experience. I got to get more skill set. I've got to, and that might be true. That might be true. A lot of times the underlying deep reason that we're stuck is that we actually don't believe we're worthy of the thing happening. Whether it's, we want to find a partner in our life, but we aren't getting on the dating app, or we're not going out and socializing, or we're not going in person to church on Sunday, or whatever it might be. And we think, we don't realize, it's deep down inside. We don't actually believe we're worthy of the thing. So that's usually how low to medium self-worth looks like. You'll go for the thing, you'll put yourself out there, but you'll hit a ceiling. And you don't know why. Like you want to grow your business to 6 figures, but you keep hitting a ceiling at 4 figures or 5, or you meet a potential partner. And this is the other way medium self-worth shows up, is that we'll go for the thing, but we'll sabotage it.
I was going to say, it sounds like sabotage.
Yeah. You'll meet a potential partner and they're great, and you'll put them in the friend zone and not be attracted to them and not know why. Or you'll write the whole manuscript, but then you won't send it out, and you'll scroll Instagram for 8 hours a day. We will sabotage things when we don't believe we're worthy of them. And then the way medium to high self-worth shows up, which is for a lot of achievers, a lot of leaders, a lot of ambitious people, is that you'll go for it. You'll achieve the thing. The world will celebrate. All your friends and family say, great job, but you still feel unfulfilled, and you still feel like you're not enough. And so self-worth is the one thing that changes everything. And, I go into 20 tools on how to build it. Probably my favorite one is actually learning to believe God's word over your own self-doubt and thoughts in your head. Because so many of us, there's a whole chapter on this in Worthy, but I'll speak for myself. There were so many years of my life where I say I believe God's word and that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then I doubt I'm qualified enough to walk into a room, or I doubt I have what it takes to share my idea. And it's like, okay, well, in those moments, I'm actually trusting my own thoughts and doubting God's word. So I actually don't have self-doubt in those moments. I'm trusting my thoughts. I actually have God doubt in those moments. And for me, learning to ask myself, who am I really doubting? And who am I going to choose to believe? Like, that is how I have also raised my self-worth and felt worthy of walking into rooms, of holding a CEO title, of running $1 billion business, of all of those things. So yeah, I'm fired up. But I'm so excited about this topic because it's just truly for everybody.
I'm asking you this. I'm just curious. How about right now? Like, you sit in front of me, you've had all these accomplishments. Do you still have any struggles with this stuff, like to this day? Because stuff I teach people how to get better at, most of the time it's still stuff that I'm working on myself and I struggle. So does Jamie Kern Lima still struggle to this day with her worthiness?
Every single day, and a little less every single day. I think it's a lifelong journey. And here's a huge breakthrough that I'm going to share.
Okay.
First on your show. I've never spoken about this before, but it is powerful. It's changed my life. Is there is a massive difference between self-confidence and self-worth.
What's the difference?
Okay, so here's the thing. And y'all, when I had this breakthrough and really started doing the work here, it changed everything in my life. So self-confidence, right? It's deeply internal, of course. It's a trait, but it is most closely linked with external things. So, the willingness to try, the confidence to try, the willingness to go for it, how you assess things on the outside, meaning how you assess your strengths, your skills, how you compare to others, right? Your self-confidence you build, and it's super, super important, but it is most closely linked to things that can fluctuate, that aren't always in your control, right? Like there's the boxer story about how, the boxer that wins is automatically 20% more, a better boxer because all of a sudden they believe they are, right? But all of a sudden if that guy loses or that woman loses, 3 or 4 times in a row, their self-confidence can fluctuate. And
True.
Your self-worth is deeply internal. It's believing you are enough exactly as you are. You are enough. You are valuable. You're worthy exactly as you are. It's deeply internal, and it doesn't fluctuate based on external things. Now, here's the big breakthrough. You can be, so for anyone listening right, I'm going to get fired up. I'm going to jump out of the seat. Jump out of the seat. For anyone listening right now, if you are someone who is like, okay, when this thing finally happens, then I'm going to be enough. When I finally get married or have the kids, or I finally hit 7 figures in my business, or 8 figures, or 9 figures, or 10 figures, when I finally get my 6-pack, when I finally, right? And then you get that thing and it's like, okay, it's great for a minute.
Yes.
But it's never quite enough.
Yes.
It's because you have built confidence. You have built confidence in that journey. Now you have confidence in your body and your 6-pack. Now you have confidence in your business, but your self-worth has not changed. And there are so many people, and this is me most of my entire life, where I thought if I achieve enough, I'll finally feel enough. Yeah. If I accomplish this thing, if I build $1 billion business, if I feel confident in a swimsuit, whatever it is, then I'll finally feel enough. But you can have all the confidence in the world and you will not be fulfilled if you do not have strong self-worth. And that is huge because...
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Can I just say something? Wow. You just described me. Yeah. Like even now.
Yeah.
That is awesome what you just flipping said right there. Holy smokes. Because you and I talk all the time. You've never said that to me before. Whoa. So sorry, you guys. So I just want to say this to you. I have really built a lot of self-confidence, but I don't know that I built that much self-worth. And so it is why I haven't enjoyed a lot of the successes that I've had. And to the extent that I have, and you too.
Yeah.
Man, you are on there. Do you think the self-worth thing for most people is, not all of it, but do you think a lot of it is shaped in childhood from experiences? Because I know being raised by an alcoholic, it's pretty hard to have a lot of self-worth, right? Because I don't think my dad had self-worth. And I think, I don't want to assume everybody knows this. Tell them a little bit about your childhood. And do you think a lot of this is shaped self-worth early in our lives? I know there could be an event later where you're like, I just lost all my self-worth. He left me, or I went bankrupt, or she cheated on me, or whatever it might be. But I do think a lot of it can come from childhood.
It can. It's also, though, reinforced our whole life. We're in a culture that rewards when you do things that get external applause. They're almost always tied to confidence or productivity or things that are external. And we grow up believing that if we do those things, we'll be happy. Every single, commercial or ad or most companies are based on you achieving an emotion if you get this thing, but it's almost always external. And then we're raised by families often, whether they're well-intended, healthy or not, we've never learned this. We've never learned this.
Where did you get this distinction from?
Huge breakthrough, actually over a really mortifying, embarrassing story I've never shared before, that has to do with Oprah. And by the way, Ed, I want to say this is something I believe affects everybody. I think that, if you really, I don't want to get too granular here because we'll be on for hours, but you think about, look at our country, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's something that we have to pursue. It's not like, oh, we shouldn't innately be happy, right? There's so many things all around us. I don't want to get started. I didn't come here to look cute today. Let's go. I'm like fired up. But here's the thing. There's so many things all around us that tell us if we finally get the thing, if we finally are, whatever, then we'll be happy. And I believe a couple things. I believe you need both self-worth and self-confidence, right? Just because you have self-worth and believe you're enough as you are doesn't mean you're now complacent and you're like just chilling, because that's not a recipe for fulfillment either. But if you do not have self-worth, you will never be truly fulfilled, no matter how much you accomplish. So you need both, right? So you need both of those things. And this is why I wrote Worthy, and it's why it's such a breakthrough, because for anyone out there who does not feel like they're enough, and maybe you're really good at hiding it because you are crushing it in every area of your life, or you're just really good at being the strong one, or whatever it might be. But I believe that deep lack of internal worthiness is why nothing ever feels enough. It's why we don't feel enough. It's why we finally get that big thing and then we're not happy or fulfilled. Or it's why we sabotage things in our life because we don't believe we're worthy of them. And so how this happened for me is, my whole life, I grew up watching Oprah in my living room. And that was sort of like, my whole life, I thought one day, I am going to interview other people and share their stories with the world. And I just always knew. And I had this knowing that made no sense, but I just knew I would meet her. I just knew it. And I was like this little girl in a suburb in Washington State.
Like everybody else was, right?
Yeah, like exactly.
Yeah.
And when I eventually went, it's a long story that I'll cut because I want to get to the point of it. But I eventually met her at one of her live events backstage. And after meeting her, I wrote her a very long email. And through sheer grace, it got forwarded and she eventually got it. And long story short, she invited me to lunch at her house. So this is, I'm cutting through a lot of how this happened. But I had lunch with Oprah at her home.
Look how you just said that. I had lunch with Oprah. Did you hear though what she just said? Just so you know, this little girl who's adopted, who's watching her on television, ends up, you just knew. But now I'm invited. I mean, put yourself in this position, everybody. Whoever your hero is, and that Oprah was your hero for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Your hero is now inviting you to lunch because that part of it matters because of the rest of the story, what happens afterwards. So now you're going to go see Oprah. Go ahead. Yes,
I know you're one of the few people on the planet that knows the story. So I'm going to share it for the first time. And honestly, it's embarrassing, but sometimes the biggest struggles or setbacks or mortifying moments or pain we go through is like not a setback. It's really a setup for what we're supposed to do. And this certainly was for me. So I end up going to Oprah's house, literally shaking in my boots. But also, I was in this moment in my life. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. Super confident. I was so confident. I had just, my company was exploding and I was so proud of, impacting millions and millions of women and trying to change the definition of beauty in the industry and all these things. And I was really self-confident and also, of course, crazy nervous to meet her and really actually sit down and we had lunch for several hours, just me and her. And at the very end of lunch at her house, she wrote down her cell number. She gave me her cell phone number and said, call me anytime, just like that. And I left and I did not call her for 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't call her for 4 years. And when we talk about sabotaging something, right? Yeah. And anyone out there who has done this in some area of their life, in a relationship, a friendship, a career move, whatever it might be, this was like, for me, the person that, my whole life, now I have her cell phone number. Right. For 4 years, I would tell myself things like, oh, you know what? Like, I don't have the right thing to say yet, but when I get the right thing, then I'm going to call her. Or, oh, everyone always wants something from her, right? I'd make up this story. I'd tell myself, everyone always wants things from her. I want to make sure she knows I don't want things from her. I'm here for real, true friendship, so I'm not going to bug her. Or I would always tell myself these versions of why I wasn't calling her. And 4 years went by.
It's incredible.
And I had this huge epiphany. I was like, oh, I'm not calling Oprah because deep down inside, I don't think I'm worthy of being her friend.
in spite of all your success.
Yep. So at that moment, I realized this was a huge breakthrough because I realized, oh, I have a lot of self-confidence, but not self-worth.
Gosh, Jamie.
And you can have one without the other. And it's why when you keep accomplishing things, or you keep, the thing finally happens, you finally, get that dream relationship, you finally have the kids, or you finally have the breakthrough in your business, but you're like, why am I not happy? Why am I not fulfilled? Why isn't it not enough? Huge breakthrough for me. And when I realized it, A, I was super embarrassed, but B, I realized that is my head, my own self-doubt, my own lack of self-worth telling me these things. But in my soul, I know I am definitely worthy of being her friend because I'm a kick-ass friend. Like I'm a ride.
You're an unbelievable friend.
I'm like, I'm a ride or die friend. Like so I'm like, I know in my soul I'm worthy of being her friend. And that was the moment I decided to call her.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
In this everyday situation, because we all, and by the way, another reason I love this Growth Day morning show is because I do believe energy is contagious. And I think that it's just so important for every one of us to even spend this time. And, we're here live for 30 minutes, Monday through Friday, in the morning, 7:30 Pacific. But even if you hop in for 5 minutes, right? I just think that being around this kind of energy is contagious. We don't all have that inside our homes. We don't all have that inside our communities. And also some of us that are really used to having that, everyone else that maybe poured into that energy and that joy, they're going through hard times right now too, right? So it's just overall a big hard time. But Brendan, for each and every person right now, what is your advice and maybe even what you're getting out of what you're reading now, but everything else, and how do you summon that? How do you summon that confidence and that vision for something bigger than yourself, and that to take you out of just the hard season around you that you're going through? How does every person on an everyday level sitting in their living room do that? Just that
I love
question.
it. Well, what's so funny? You all know I love coaching, and part of coaching is always the person who just asked the question almost always answered it. And so your question was, how do people summon that? And in that question is the answer, which is you have to realize confidence is not something you have. Good energy is not something you have. Happiness is not something you have. It doesn't exist. It's something you choose to summon. Mm-hmm. So if you're sitting on the couch and feeling bad, don't hope that purpose lands on you. Don't hope that joy lands on you. Don't hope that confidence, it doesn't land on you randomly. What happens is you go, oh, I need to focus my attention and my awareness. I need to bring my full presence towards this outcome in which I want right now. My outcome in which I want right now is presence or energy or confidence. And then your mindset has to be, oh, I have to summon that. I have to ask, what is within me? What is the strength within me? What is it that I want to achieve and move out here? And for those who don't know and you just need hope, sometimes it's just as simple as writing down your vision or your goals or your dream or that house that you want down the street or that thing that you want over here. And like just thinking about it and looking at it and going, okay, how would I have to show up to have that? What would I need to do today to move towards that? What small step could I take to inch me towards that right now? Okay, small step, turn off TV, stop the scroll, write down the goal, do this thing over here, like small things enacted. See, confidence so often comes from capability. Capability comes from competence. Competence comes from consistency, right? You develop greater, like, it's almost just like, you want to feel better? Get momentum, babe. Mm-hmm. Get a little momentum behind you again. Small steps, small actions, a little momentum, a little breath behind the sails. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm moving towards this thing. I'm feeling a little better. It doesn't matter if it's cleaning up the house or starting the new launch or doing the thing. Get a little momentum behind and then remind yourself consistently of that bigger picture. Remind yourself. Like for me, I have to look at something. I'm very visual, as you know. So I've got charts and diagrams and dreams and all this stuff. All pinned to this little board over here. And I got to stand in. I'm always telling the Growth Day this. I know they're going to sometimes. I stand in front of every day for 5 minutes. Even today, when I was so busy before we gone on, I stood before 5 minutes so I can see. Oh, this goal, that thing, that dream. Here's my calendar. That's what makes me happy. All right, that makes me happy. That makes me confident. Okay, that makes me confident. Okay, and I'm taking it in every day. Think about this. if I'm a professional at this, guys, I'm literally paid to do this work. And I still have to stand in front of a board to motivate myself, to remind myself of what the fundamentals are in personal development to be happy or confident. I'm guessing everybody else should be doing it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what about you though? Because, you face so much. How do you summon?
Well, and I think I think for me, I have to keep it about something bigger than myself, no matter what I do. I mean, I remember, one story where after 3 years of hearing no from QVC, right? So I had created this business in my living room, got down to no money in our account, kept sending my products to all the retailers for years. And finally got one shot on QVC. And it's a long story, which I'll share for another day. But in that moment, when I had this one shot, it was this 10-minute window. And I knew, oh my gosh, if this goes well, this could change everything, right? It could open doors for my whole company. If this doesn't go well, I'm out of business and I'm bankrupt. And it was this one moment. And not to oversimplify the moment, but it really came down to me not making it about myself. And what I mean by that is, QVC, you're live in front of 100 million homes, right? And I remember, and there's no script.
How feels about that right there?
There's no script. There's no teleprompter. It's you and the host. And then, in my case, because I was in the beauty space, there's models that are going to model product. And it was a moment where I had risked everything because for 3 years from all the department stores across the country, they all said no to carrying my products and said, you need to have models that look a specific way. And I kept fighting for this idea because no one was really doing this at the time. I'm like, what if we use all different women, all ages and shapes and sizes and skin tones and skin challenges and me, I'll take my own makeup off and show my rosacea, right? I have a skin condition called rosacea. I'm like, let's shift culture and beauty and really try to redefine it. This was my bigger vision because I realized all growing up, like I love these ads. I would see these commercials, but at the end of the day, and I always aspired to look at them, but to look like them. But at the end of the day, they always made me feel as a little girl like I wasn't enough, right? So I had this big vision of, okay, let me try to show all different types of people as models, call them beautiful, mean it, shift culture for every little girl out there who's about to start doubting herself. Every grown person who does. So I'm pitching this and everyone's saying no, that this is never going to work for 3 years. And part of how I kept confidence in that journey was just knowing, okay, this is bigger than me. Like this vision of why I want to do this is bigger than me. If it would have just been, oh, I want to make some money or, oh, I want to, those are great goals.
So key.
But they're not bigger, right? And I kept that vision bigger always to keep that confidence because it's not about me. And it came down to this one moment, literally probably one of the most important moments in my journey was this, finally got a yes after 3 years of hearing no, and got this 10-minute spot live on QVC. And I made the decision to, there's third-party experts out, consultants you can hire, and they all told me the best advice, which was probably the right advice because it's all that had ever worked, which was use these kind of models that have perfect skin. And but I went with my gut because it was like, okay, I want to do something bigger than myself. If I'm going to get one shot, I'd rather fail miserably and stand for something than sell a ton of product.
Fail miserably and stand for something. Wow.
Yeah.
Write that down, y'all. Capture that somewhere, would you? I'd rather fail miserably and stand for something.
Stand for something. But it's hard in those moments. And I remember the 10-minute window. And why I'm bringing this up is because, for me, it's that vision. And I love coming after Vision Week and Growth Day Morning Show and going into Confidence Week, because I think whether it's something like what I'm describing with your business, or it could be something really small, like a personal health goal, it could be anything. But I think having confidence in that journey is part of it for me is this bigger than myself, right? Yes. And so I remember the moment that the 10-minute clock came up and we were about to go live, and I had that one shot, right? And if we didn't do well, we were done. Like we never would be invited back, and we had to hit the sales goal. And at the time, I was only selling 2 to 3 orders a day on our website after 3 years into building the company. And we were down to under $1,000 in our bank account and this whole thing. And I took that risk of going, okay, I'm going to stick with my vision. And there was one moment, Brendan, when the cameras went live, and it was this 10 minutes, my one shot, you know what I mean? It was my one shot. And I remember thinking, like, for a split second, I went back in my head to making it about me for a second. I was like, is my dress too tight? I felt like sweat dripping down my Spanx. I was like, what? And I was like, oh, no. If I get in my head and make this about me, I'm done. Like, this is so much bigger than myself. And I had to make it not about me. And boom, in my own head, I had to shift to, why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And it was, my bigger vision of, oh my gosh, even if nobody buys anything and they flip on their TV and they see me showing, Helen in her 70s, all my different models, all ages, shapes, sizes, skin tones, and calling them beautiful, meaning it, and no one buys anything, like that, maybe I can at least shift culture a little bit around inclusivity. So that was like the vision I had to keep. But I just remember that moment, because if I went back into myself and made it about me and thought it was about me, I'd be done. I would have been done. And I would have never been able to authentically connect. Because
I think that you tapped into what you stand for, and you tapped in for something that you believed in, something that's important. Yeah. For those who've been in our community a long time, I teach people to put a card next to their computer that says, who needs me on my A game today? Mm. Because many of you, just like Jamie's experience, you'll do more for other people than you do for yourselves. People hope that one day they overcome their insecurities by some magical mindful epiphany trick. And I'm like, actually, you want to overcome your insecurities? Go fight for someone. Mm. You want to overcome your stuff? Go serve at a higher level that demands that you overcome your stuff so you can serve others. Like, I would say, like, that's why I always say, seek leadership roles. Like, when you have to serve other people and inspire other people, lead other people, it makes you confront those parts of yourself that you are insecure about. Or more often, it's insecurity just from lack of inexperience. Mm-hmm. And so as you get out and in motion, you're like, oh, I know this more. It's more familiar to me. I'm more comfortable with it. I'm more comfortable at it. I like it more when I do good. I like it more when I do good. I'm winning. I got some momentum. Now I'm more confident because I'm more capable. I have more competence. So I'm going to try new things. I try new things. I learn more things. I gain more confidence. It's like, it's going for it. But a huge part of that inflection point is that bigger vision, that bigger dream, that higher level of service, what you need to do. Many people, for me, we talk a lot about finances on the show in some way or another. And I never had a financial goal. I wish I did at the beginning. I was around people who were like surviving. So I had like a survival mindset. I just need to survive. That was where I grew up. That's what it was about. There wasn't like an aspirational, like financial thing in my entire community. And so I didn't have that. And then I went to San Francisco, and actually before that, I went to college, worked 3 jobs full-time in college, barely, I don't even know how or when I ever slept. And I just remember seeing people show up, and they had, kids, their parents bought them cars. And I was like, oh my God, your parent bought you a car. I was like, what? Or I met kids who their parents bought them tuition. I was like, someone paid for your school? Like, these were so mind-boggling to me. Yeah. And still, even seeing a lot, I still never set financial goals. Hmm. And then I met Denise, and I started thinking, oh, what do I want our life to be about? What do I want our life to be about? And I started going, oh, you know what? I need to have a bigger vision here, because I want us to go places, and to go places and have fun together. I'm gonna have to earn more. And I was like, oh, okay. And I started saying, okay. And I had a lot of insecurity around money. And I thought, oh, I'm just gonna face that. And the best way to face that is just get in motion and try to figure and learn it out. Because what I want to do is be a provider. What I want to do is create abundance for us. Mm-hmm. What I want to do is serve more people And you know what? Serving more people will help me earn more too. And so it just like was this mindset shift that probably would, I literally think back, if I'd never met Denise, I can't imagine me having ever best-selling books or big courses or anything. One, because she put so much love in my heart that I serve from a place of love. And that's a big piece. Another one, because it like I wanted to do good for our family. And that gave me the confidence, like, okay, if I want to do good for the family, show up today. Show up today. You have a dream. You want to care for your wife, your husband, your partner, your team, someone else. Show up for them today. Who needs you today? Jamie was like, she was standing on values and service to those values. You can stand on your dream, your vision, a family member, someone you want to take care of, a cause you want to give to. But the most important thing is every day, put that thing in your head. Every morning, put that thing in the head. In the moments that matter, like she was talking about, or like Jamie and I also talk about like burnout and fatigue and tired. Like when she's in this big launch for Believe It, her new book, it's like, okay, got to show up. It's just like, it sucks. You're tired. Still got to show up. That's just part of every day. Show up because you have this outcome in mind. Show up because you want to do this thing for other people. Show up, show up, show up, show up. All right.
And when you say who needs, I know we're going to wrap up, but one more thing to add quickly. When you say who needs you on your A game today, I just want to say this, like it may not be a friend or family member or a loved one. It may be someone in the future who's going to need your story. It might be someone in the future who's going to need to hear what you're going through right now and how you got through it, so that they can believe it's possible for them to get through it too. So the person, right? You might be alone right now. You might, but the person who needs you on your A game, you may not even have met yet, right? And sometimes thinking about that, because every single one of us, no matter our struggles, no matter what we're going through right now, no matter our setbacks, someone's going to need our story down the road. And that might be the person for someone with us right now who needs you on your A game. So keep that in mind too, because sometimes we don't see it around us at the moment.
Okay, let's pretend somebody is watching for the first time today, Jamie. Try in like a Ellen 2-3 minute fashion to explain to them what I want them to hear. This is Believe It week. And what I want them to hear is how much you can do in a week if you decide to. Like Friday finishers, today is the day I look at my projects and go, oh, all of these items and deliverables have to be done by end of day Friday. And so I set those every Sunday, previous Sunday. And then I just go for a big week. And this week I'm so far behind because I traveled and I ended up quarantining and all this other craziness. But I would love to hear you describe, like, what did you do this week?
I was still going. So this week, so I prayed a lot. That's what I did. This week has been, so Monday was my first ever live event. So I kicked off Monday morning, first going live from on Good Morning America, early morning with Robin Roberts. And to make it all happen, we had to set up a hard wire in this like teeny tiny corner of the studio. And we were bringing in all kinds of plants, trying to make it look good. You do what you got to do. And so we went live Good Morning America super early. I think we left the hotel 4 a.m., something like that. And did Good Morning America Monday and then kicked it off in our first ever live event. It was a full day. Oh my goodness. I think it ended up being somewhere between 12 and 14 hours live. I lost my voice by the very end of it. We had 19 speakers live on the day. And we raised so much money for Together Rising and also donated 2.2 million meals to Feeding America. 100% of my book, 100% of the proceeds are going, of my proceeds I'm donating as well. But
okay, we have these moments in our time, Jamie and I talk about all this time. There's a launch window, right? You prepare, you launch. And sometimes like that Monday is this huge event, registered 200,000 people and launched a book, in the top 2 of all of Amazon, #1 brand new release, #1 in her category, monster book launch, right? And that took 2 years to lead up to that Monday.
Yeah.
2 years to lead that Monday that everybody saw. And what I think's beautiful about that is a reminder, y'all. I believe, Jamie, I don't know if you feel like this way, but I personally believe that a lot of people lost their big ambitions in the pandemic. They were like, I'm going to wait. And then I'm going to do this thing. Where instead, you over 2 years, write a book, launch a new brand, launch a new thing. Let's go. We launched Growth Day during the pandemic. We're like, oh, we're not going to sit and wait until this thing is over. It's like, this thing is here. And you know what? There's always chaos. There's always struggle. There's always uncertainty in life. You can't be on permanent hold. If you want to achieve great things, you cannot be on permanent hold. You have to find a way, even if you do them different. Jamie probably never imagined she'd do a big virtual event. I never imagined that we would launch Growth Day the way that we did without, our experience of live events. I just want to remind you, big ambitions are okay still. You've got to believe in a bigger picture, a bigger vision, a bigger possibility for yourself. And you don't tamp that down because of uncertainty or politics or even the pandemic. You might have to change it, alter it, reimagine it, but don't kill the dream. And because she didn't kill the dream, she showed up, changed people's lives, and is a #1 bestseller because she didn't hold the dream. There's a belief that says, I will keep going despite uncertainty, despite rules I don't like, despite challenges that suck. And then you could have Mondays like that. Like, I want you to all have Mondays of impact in your life. And that doesn't happen if you wait. I hope that helps.
That's so good. I love all the Growth Day coaches so much, and I believe in the power of being a lifetime student. And something you just said reminded me of something one of your Growth Day coaches, Dave Hollis, said recently, where he said, change challenges confidence. And I think all of us, right, we've gone through the past 14 months, so much change, and it has challenged our confidence. And I think it's just important to be aware of it because there's so many people that have had so many more challenges than ever, and so many more things stacked on them, especially parents, than ever. But we also get stronger in those seasons. And I think what's so important is we don't let our capacity to dream or to believe get smaller. And it's easy to do that, right? I was thinking about this, Brendan. I was thinking about this, how, for anyone who's had a parent retire, right? Like a parent retire, and then you realize like a year into it, their capacity starts to get smaller, meaning like if they're used to traveling all the time, or they're always out socializing or whatever, and then their lives and their careers and everything changes, all of a sudden when they travel, it might be a really big deal, or they go out to an event, it's a really big deal. And you're like, oh, wow, right? Their capacity is kind of changing a little bit. And that's why a lot of people retire and they're like, I can't handle this. I need to go volunteer. I need to go, right? Because their capacity shrinks. I think what's happened is twofold in the past 14 months. People are getting things stacked on top of them that are more difficult, but then also the capacity to dream and to live in anticipation and to believe things are possible has kind of been put on hold for a lot of people. And it's gotten a little smaller. And then you stack that with being around just the divisiveness inside a lot of people's families with how they feel politically or how they feel about the pandemic or whatever's going, the vaccine, whatever's going. It's a lot. And I think what you're calling out is so important today, so that we don't let our capacity to dream and to have huge goals shrink because everything else is stacking, right? And I think that's huge. When I think about people in my family, for example, one person comes to mind who I won't call out, he's amazing, but he traveled every single day forever. And now when he has one trip, it's like packing for 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time. And then like, you can't go out to lunch the day before travel because I'm going to travel tomorrow. Like it's this big thing, right? And I just want to make sure that doesn't happen with our dreams and with how we're seeing our hopes and our goals and everything else. Hopefully that makes sense what I'm saying, but I know it's Belief Week also
Yes.
on the Growth Day Morning Show. And I just think it's really important around the topic of mindset when it comes to how, oh, wait, are we letting our own capacity shrink for believing in our dreams because everything else is getting so big that feels so heavy, right? All the change has been challenging your confidence, to use one of your Growth Day coach Dave's words. I think it's just an important thing to be aware of it, right? And that's why another reason why I love this Growth Day Morning Show, because we talk about all these things and we talk about being aware of them and then like, okay, now what do we do about them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think awareness is huge. Yesterday, I was trying to give people, for those who missed yesterday, I was trying to give tactics of writing down the beliefs you believe the most aspirational people in your life have,
Yes.
And like, what do they believe about themselves? What do they believe about others? What do they believe about the world? And then ask, are you adopting and living from those beliefs? Are you ingraining those beliefs through your behaviors and your thought patterns into your head so you have those optimistic or stronger or confident or caring, compassionate, loving beliefs? Like, are you setting that up? And I think to finish off Belief Week, it's just a reminder of giving yourself that permission to have extraordinary ambitions for you and your family. Because you know what? Very few people will say that. They will tell you to play small. They will tell you to be safe. They will tell you all these things. And by the way, those are all fine. And hey, it's very easy to perpetuate a message of security and safety during a pandemic. And we should. We should be responsible in the messages we share. This show is about how can you start your day a little bit more intentional, a little more grounded and confident and joyous. How can we start the day in some way we spark some aliveness in you to go win the day, spark some aliveness to be a good mom or a good parent or a good caregiver or a good leader, contributor, artist, whatever your jam is today. How can you bring some joy to that and really experience it? Like, life has to be a quintessential question of, how can I enjoy this day?
Yeah.
Even when the day is full of, I got to make lunch for 50 people, or I got to go, do all the laundry of 70 people, or I have to figure out how to build this business or start this thing. You must find your way of bringing happiness to it. And Jamie and I have been talking about confidence all week, and we've talked about different frameworks for how do you find confidence, from letting go of labels that other people called you, to simple acts of standing in front of your goals and your dreams every day and looking at them so that the motivation, the ambition hits your heart again visually. All of these things we talk about. Today I had an idea I thought I'd share about confidence, Jamie.
Yeah.
And I know you have some things you'd like to share as well. And you want to go first?
No, go for it. Go for it.
Every
We're both
time
coming in hot today.
I get happy. I know some of you, you're new to our community. So if you have never joined us officially on Growth Day, go to growthday.com. That's where we do all our live in-depth training with lots of personal development trainers going live for you guys all year long for less than $1 a day. It's super cool. But Jamie sent me these mugs, which still makes me happy every time I take a drink out of it. Cheers, Jamie. Good morning.
Cheers. Good morning. Cheers. Cheers. I'm going to guess, are you drinking green tea?
It's water today.
Water today. Okay. You don't need to guess water. With mine. It's complete coffee.
I already got my morning workout in, so I'm energized. I'm fired up. I get so excited to talk with you all and see you all in the comments. I see people all around the world who join us every single morning just to give you a big old virtual hug and start your day off strong. Here's an idea on confidence, speaking of drinking my water here, that might serve you all. And that's this. Please realize that a lot of confidence, as we've talked about it, has been very, let me redefine my identity. Let me set intentions for who I am each day. Let me look at my goals and let me believe in my ability to figure things out, because that's what confidence is, my belief in my ability to figure things out. But I also want to tell a different kind of confidence. We're halfway through the week. And this different kind of confidence is the confidence of trust in being. Think about this. When water is flowing down a hill, it's not trying to be confident and strong. It's not trying to surge down the hill. It's not trying to command all the rocks to be exactly where the rocks have to be because it's a perfectionist water. It's flowing naturally with what it is. The bumblebee isn't going, we're going to command this field. Let me bring the legions and we're going to take this field. The bumblebee is doing what the bumblebee does, what the bumblebee is. And sometimes people lack confidence, not because they don't have goals, not because they're not high achievers. In fact, most of the high performers that I've consulted and coached with and worked with in the world, what they were trying to get back to was their authentic presence. They were the good commander on the field or the builder of the industry or the titan. And then at some point they said, I got to figure out me again and flow with that. And finding your natural essence, your nature, the truth of who you are, there's confidence there. Like I show up in a lot of different situations where it's very anxiety producing, right? Imagine walking out onto a 60-foot stage that's 40 feet deep and 20,000 people are in the arena. And you have to talk to them, entertain them, and get a standing ovation in 90 minutes. This used to be my life, people. And it's very anxiety producing. And if I think I'm going to go do these things to them, or if I think, oh, I hope I get this right, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to dance with them, and I'm a terrible dancer. I'm going to tell my jokes, which 9 out of 10 times I think is funny, and no one laughs at the joke. They just laugh at the fact that I'm so enjoying myself. So they're like, I like him because he's enjoying himself. I want you on this Wednesday, halfway through the week, to enjoy yourself, to flow with your nature today. Even if you have to do something you don't want to do. You don't want to do the emails. You don't want to do the call. You don't want to do the work. You don't want to do the things with kids. Flow with it. Don't try to control everything. Flow with yourself. Be spontaneous. Real confidence isn't actually structured. It's spontaneous. It's flowing. It's gorgeously open energy that's in the moment of presence, that's in the moment of freedom. And that's what I want you to find. To take that idea that confidence is the Superman cape, instead going, no, confidence is the dance. It's the flow. It's the energy. You're just showing up being beautifully you. Please do that today and you'll have a better week.
Amen to that on a Wednesday. And I
amen
love
on a Wednesday. Can I get an amen on a Wednesday?
Amen on a Wednesday. I'm throwing out what I was going to talk about because this is so good and I'm fired up right now. But, okay. I want to distinguish something you just said too that I think is huge for people. Sometimes when we're in a growth community and we're invested into personal growth and we want to change our habits, improve our habits, we want to do all those things. Sometimes we can confuse that with I need to change who I am or my essence. And they're two different things, right? And I think this is so beautiful what you said, because I think it's so freeing for people as well. Because when we feel like we are just that authentic water and we're flowing through and we're showing up in our own real true essence of who we are, for better or worse. Not everyone's going to love it. Not everything's perfect, but when you do that and you actually like embrace who you are fully, it's so freeing. You feel in that state of flow and you're able to connect with other people authentically. You're able to feel the day more. And then also you approach, I think, personal growth from a place of freedom also, where from a place of confidence, right? Because you're not saying, oh, I need to change who I am to become confident. You're like, oh no, let me show up in all of my essence. Let me flow through life and dance in full commitment, as you would say, right? And by the way, Brendan, the other day when you were talking about your dancing, how bad your dancing is on stage, I'm like, no. The way that dancing is good or bad based on if you fully commit. And I believe anyone who fully commits when they dance, fully commits, great dancer, right? And so many people reposted that because how true is this, right? The example you just gave, that when you show up on your stage and you're just out there and you're all of that, it's laughing at your own jokes. But when you're fully flowing through like the water in your own jokes and you really think they're funny, people can feel it and they celebrate that, right? And I think sometimes
you're taking joy in your being, you're taking joy in your own mind, you're taking joy in the moment. And I really want everybody to feel that is like, it's halfway through the week. Are you feeling the day at all? Are you bringing intention and energy into it? Are you letting the world's events transpire and in such a way that it doesn't throw you off from your flow?
Yeah.
I mean, like, isn't it true drama is always going to be there, Jamie? Like drama, something's going to break. I mean, you had 1,000 employees at It Cosmetics or whatever it was. It was like, right? I mean, at some point, people were screwing stuff up and bad things were happening. Customers were upset about this or that. That's just life. But you still got to show up and do the work, you know? Yeah.
Part of any business, part of any family, part of any group, absolutely. It's always there and you have to show up. And I think, with the theme of Confidence Week and talking about what you're saying too, about just showing up in your own essence, one thing I want to share that just popped in my mind that was so powerful for me to see and maybe this is going to speak to someone out there right now who feels like they're getting feedback from other people on things they're not doing good enough or well enough, or things they need to change, or maybe your own inner critic is telling you all the stuff you need to change about yourself. And I just want to make this point again, that there's a difference between changing who you are versus keeping who you are and growing authentically into more of who you are, growing into all of who you are. Right?
Yes.
Very different than changing who you are. So I just want to call this out, because so many people, we need to stop thinking we need to change who we are and that there's something wrong with us. And instead, like, embrace our essence, embrace who we are authentically, and go on this journey of growing into all of who we are. And confidence is a big part of that. And a friend of mine, Glennon Doyle, who just wrote a book called Untamed, who's out there everywhere. She said something recently and it just blew my mind. And I'm going to share it with everyone right now who might need to hear this today, because we're talking about confidence, right? So anyone who's written a book before, anyone who is in the process now, anyone who might want to write a book in the future, when you write your full manuscript and you turn it in, if you go through a publisher, you have different editors, and they look at all your stuff and they start changing a lot of stuff. I mean, every page.
You just started the work. Y'all should have. When you write a book, when you turn it in, you literally just began the project. That was like the first step. That's the hardest step. That's the first step. So be ready for. Jamie finished her first book. Believe it. It comes out next month. I'm so excited.
This month.
It's like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's called Believe It. Pre-order on Amazon. Go support her. Go to BelieveIt.com. She worked so hard on this book, y'all. And I know you're telling a story. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just so excited because you really got it. Like, she turned it in. I got a first version of Believe It. And I went through it and gave some feedback and knew it was like, this is the first round of feedback and this is going to be a lot. Like, your editors and remember, you were so precious about it. You were like, oh, I hope they don't want to change it. And I was like, oh, they might be, you go through the process. And I just trusted and knew that you would, going through the process several more times with other people, it always makes something better. It really does, if you trust and you follow your voice. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, exactly. Yeah. So just to share that, I said no to a book deal for 10 years because I was like all in building this company. I didn't want someone else to write my book. I wanted it to be fully authentic. So I waited. And then when I knew it was the right time, I wrote 80,000 words, every single word. And I was crying and laughing and so fired up for everyone that's going to, to share these lessons with, and binge eating Lucky Charms some days, all the things. Anyways, when I finally turned in the manuscript, Brendan, you and Oprah were two of the first two people that read the draft. And it was the first time I got feedback. And this is what I want to share with everyone and share about Glennon Doyle's story. And you said the same thing, and so did Oprah too. There's like, great editors are gonna even, challenge you to go deeper on the stories, deeper on the lessons, all the stuff. And so, to your point, writing the book, that's the starting point. Then I spent the last 2 years, almost 2 years, editing every single word myself, going deeper, challenge. But the point I want to make is this: not about my book, but about our life and about every person listening right now. We all go through a process in life. I think whether you're writing a book or you're just living your day-to-day life, right? No matter what you're waking up and dealing with today. And that's when other people tell us to change things, right? Or tell us something's not right. It needs to be stronger. It needs to be better. And I think that it's so important to check in with our gut and go, does that feel right to me? And then if it feels right, you're like, oh, that feedback is a gift. I'm going with it. What a gift that this person said, hey, I think you should do this, challenge yourself to go deeper on this lesson. Or can you share more? I know it's personal, but can you share more? Whatever that feedback is, right? And then there's other times where you get people wanting to edit you, to use the book terms, and you're like, no, right? And I think this is really important. And in the book world, I'm going to share a word I just learned as an author in the past 2 years, which is STET, S-T-E-T, right? So when you get your book back, your manuscript back, the first round from all the editors, you'll see everything, a million changes on every page. And if you want to accept the change, if they say, hey, go deeper on this lesson or reveal this, or what if you talk more about this ex-boyfriend, whatever it is, right? You can accept the change and go, yeah, I'm going to go deeper there. I'm going to change this or edit that. Or you, as an author of your own life, your own book, you can write STET, S-T-E-T. And what that means is, no, I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to accept that edit. I appreciate your feedback, but it's not right for me authentically. So I was watching, my friend Glennon Doyle was talking about the words of the year. A lot of people have their own word for the year, right? Every year. And she was talking about, a lot of people might choose, confidence, like we're talking about, which is huge. And a word that we need to focus on for the year. It's a big thing out there. Her word is STET of the whole year. And she explained it in a way that was, I thought, so profound. And I just want to share it because someone else out there might need that word right now. She's
kind of
like,
I'm not going to change. Kind of like,
no, she's like, I'm going to grow.
But I'm not needing to change.
Well, it's more just like being mindful of when people tell you you need to do this differently, or you're not enough, or you're not the right fit, or you need to change this about you or that about you. It is so important that we go, oh, is this feedback a gift? Is it aligned with my soul? Is it valuable so that I can continue becoming all of who I am? Or do I just need to say stat? Like, thank you for your opinion. But that feedback isn't right for me. That criticism or that telling me something about me needs to change or something about me is not enough. And I think having the confidence in our own lives of saying, I'm going to trust myself and my gut over if this word someone said to me is right for me, or this feedback someone gave me, or this criticism someone gave me, having the confidence to say, does this feel right in my gut? And if it does, great, trust it. And if it doesn't, don't. And have the confidence to just appreciate that from a distance and appreciate that person's intentions, because a lot of times they're good, but say that word stat in your own life. And I just thought that was really powerful, because a lot of times we're so busy throughout the day that we don't take the time to go, oh, let me curate the words that come in, that penetrate and take root, that other people share or that I'm hearing throughout my day. And I think part of confidence is learning to do that.
I think it is. It's about how to receive other people's direction or input or judgments, and also your own judgments, because sometimes it's your own voice saying things and you're like, whoa, is that true? I put everything through a filter, obviously, because I'm the Mr. Framework guy. So I'm like, I call it the 3 E's. And so I listen for the 3 E's, and the E's just each stand for a word. And the first one is, does this feedback or this mental chatter, if I follow it, does it expand? Does it expand my growth? Does it expand who I am? Does it expand my strengths, my energy? Is it something that's going to make me, in other words, grow, but like is expansive from the source, right? Meaning, first, does that tie in with the source, the truth of who I am or what I desire or where I'm going? And does it expand it? Or does it just pop in a hole in it? It's like, okay, that's not useful. The question is, does it expand? The second one is, does it enrich? Does this feedback, if I follow it, or this mental, if I do what my, ideas are thinking, does it enrich my life? Does it enrich my life in terms of my joy? Does it enrich my life in terms of the beauty around me? Does it enrich how the sense of satisfaction or fulfillment or meaning that I get from life? Or is it just more noise? And then the last one is, does it empower me in such a way it makes me more accountable or skilled? Like, if I do what they're saying, will that make me better? Will that make me a higher performer? Will that take me to the next level? Does that empower my belief in myself? Or does that empower me to do more the next day or to be more? And so I'm always thinking, does this expand me? Does this enrich my life? Does this empower my capabilities? If not, it's noise and probably a direction I don't need to go on, or it's a label someone's applying. It's not, in other words, it's not actually directive. It's not additive. It's not progressive. And you have to learn at those, because some people offer what I call dead end advice: label, judgment, stop. And I'm like, oh, that's dead end advice. That's dead end advice is thank you, but there's a dead end. Other people offer advice or thoughts or judgments or encouragement to you that now expands, enriches, or empowers. You want to listen to those people. You want to listen to those thoughts. You want to set up your environment from what's going in your ear in your workout, when you're listening to positive podcasts or our morning show. You want to start programming your mind for things that are expanding, enriching, and empowering. And the more you do that, the more that ends up kind of, I would say, kind of like knocking down the noise of other things, because our brains are always telling us stories. And sometimes you have to feed like other sounds into your brain, encouraging people, enriching advice, empowering ideas, that overcomes the lower levels of noise and those thoughts that aren't serving or positive or engaging. And I think that's just a big differentiator in life. Is this expanding, enriching, and empowering me, or is it just noise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, for me, part of expanding and enriching and empowering too is just, how does this feel in my gut? Does this feel right? You know what I mean? I think of all the years of getting feedback from, you know, when I was trying to build a company and kept getting rejection after rejection after rejection. And every time, usually these rejections from the retail stores or from, you know, whoever it was, experts it would come with feedback. And I always had to check in and just trust my gut. And sometimes, like at the end of the day, sometimes it's all we have is that inner knowing of, is this feedback right for me? You know, is that word somebody said right for me? Do I let it take root? And there were so many times where I would get feedback like, oh, you need to change all of your packaging and make it a lot more expensive feeling, or whatever the feedback was. And I always would check in and be like, no, like it doesn't feel right. Or, oh, wow, that was a good catch. They just told me my font is too small to read. And oh, that was huge. Thank you. You know what I mean?
Oh, you don't. If you make font too small, Jamie's coming right at you. She's gonna give you some feedback. You're like, no. She will catch that detail, people.
Building self-worth is so important because here's what I know to be true. And this is a quote straight from the book, Worthy. In life, you don't soar to the level of your hopes and dreams. You stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. You don't rise to what you believe is possible. You fall to what you believe you're worthy of. When I got this lesson in my life, after sabotaging a whole lot of stuff in my life, after getting some things I wanted, but then not understanding why I didn't feel fulfilled, or after getting some things and then literally losing them, this lesson has changed my entire life. I'm excited to share this sneak peek advanced chapter read of my book, Worthy, with you, and also dive into some incredibly powerful tools on how to build true, unshakable self-worth together. I wrote Worthy for every person who has ever doubted you're enough, for every person who's ever doubted your worthiness, and for every person who is sick and tired of what self-doubt has already cost you in your life. And I wrote Worthy after a series of powerful moments led me to consider, what has self-doubt already cost me in my life? And the answer was way too much. And if this is you too, I wrote this book with the intention of helping you feel less alone and more enough, and to share powerful tools that you can apply to your life right now to build true self-worth. So here's the thing, is I used to think I was all alone in these struggles, right? I don't know if you have them too and you feel like you're alone in them, but with deep self-doubt, like I felt alone in that. And I used to try to hide it. And, you know, once I became so much more aware, and then I became obsessed with studying self-worth and tools to build it, I learned that I am far from alone. You are too if you feel it. If you struggle with self-doubt, we are far from alone. Studies show more than 80% of women feel like they are not enough. First of all, that is why I'm donating 100% of my author proceeds of Worthy, that in big part go to programs that help build self-worth in girls and women. But it truly is the intention behind this book, because here's the thing, self-worth is the one thing that changes everything in all areas of your life. And what's beautiful and powerful is it is never too late to build it. I don't know who needs to hear this today. One of my amazing friends, Mally Roncal, always says, you are not too old, you're not too young, it's not too late, your best days are ahead. I love that quote from her. And here's the thing, it's never too late to unlearn the lies that lead to self-doubt and embrace the truths that wake up worthiness. So I wrote this book for you if you have some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill. And I am so excited, and I just, I'd love to start by sharing some of the most powerful tools on building self-worth and sharing sort of the high-level overview and the table of contents for Worthy, and just sort of share with you a couple lines and in some cases some deep tools on the key takeaways so that you know what you're in store with this book. Here's the thing. With Worthy, the table of contents, I'm going to take you through it because I want you to really get it, take it in what we're expecting in this book. So part 1 of Worthy is called Seeing. This is all about self-confidence, self-worth, and self-revelations. So chapter 1 is called The One Thing That Transforms Everything. This is a chapter that lays out the foundation of self-worth and how building it truly impacts all areas of your life. And here's the thing, y'all. Okay, I got to go deep for a minute before I continue. Self-confidence is very different than self-worth. Okay, I want to pause for a minute and I want to go deep here on this, because really this is the first tool that was one of the biggest breakthroughs in my life. And it really comes down to the importance of understanding the difference between self-confidence and self-worth and how they both play out in your life right now. Okay, this one's big. See, both are so important, but they both are very different. And I've gotten so many questions from you on social media and even live questions tonight in the comments about this. So I want to go deeper for a minute. See, self-confidence, okay? Self-confidence is how you assess yourself based on your skills, your attributes, how you stack up compared to others, your willingness to try. If you keep the promises you make to yourself, self-confidence, even though it's internal, it can fluctuate by the second based on how things are going all around you, right? If you're winning or you're losing, if you're hitting your fitness goals, how much of the world's definition of success you have. And here's the thing, y'all, almost every advertisement our entire lives tells us, and well-intentioned family and friends, tells us that if we could just get the things that make us more confident, the money, that job title, the white picket fence, the perfect looking family, right? All the things people ask you when they see you, how's your job going? What about your family? Are you in a relationship, right? We're told if we get those things, then we'll be happy, then we'll be fulfilled. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever finally gotten that thing? Like you got it, like you worked so hard to get it. And then you arrive there and you realize, maybe it's after a year or a month or a week or a few hours, you realize you're still not fully happy. And it still feels like something's missing. So then what do we do in that case? We work harder and harder and harder and accomplish more and more and more. And we think, I just got to achieve more. I've just got to get that next level. Then we arrive, and all y'all achievers out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. We arrive, and what happens? We still feel like something's missing. Here's why. It's because all of these things that we're so often striving so hard to get, they build self-confidence, which is so important to build. But none of them actually build self-worth. Self-worth is the deep, internal knowing that you are innately worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are, right now.
in this very moment. Not as you achieve, not dependent on anything happening around you or not happening around you or anything in the past that went well or didn't go well, but you are worthy exactly as your Creator made you. And so many women, whether you're high achievers or perfectionists or people pleasers, and really people everywhere, spend their whole lives striving and sacrificing for the things like hitting that fitness goal or getting that job title or the marriage and the kids and the dream house. And then they think, all of us do. You guys, decades of my life I thought I needed to achieve to be happy. But then we achieve and we arrive going, why aren't we fulfilled? Because while we're building great self-confidence along the way, which again it's such an important component of life, but we don't realize that those things don't actually build self-worth, and we haven't learned how to build strong self-worth along the way. So both self-confidence and self-worth are such important skills to build in life, but they're both very different. Self-worth is your foundation. That is your foundation. Self-confidence is the house you build on top of it. But your house will only ever be as secure and as fulfilled as the foundation it is built upon. Understanding the difference between self-confidence and self-worth will change every aspect of your life, and learning how to build true self-worth allows you to feel fulfillment while you're achieving all the things that can only build self-confidence. This is a huge revelation, y'all, because for those of you that feel like something's missing in your life and you don't know why and you're doing all the right things, right? And then people often, I'm gonna get way off on a tangent, let me not do this, but people often will quit a job because they think, oh, that's why I'm not fulfilled. Or they'll end a marriage or end a relationship or whatever it is because they think that's why I'm not fulfilled. Something's missing in my life. And so many of the times it's because they're doing all the things that build confidence and they think that they should feel like nothing's missing. But when they do not have underlying self-worth, you can never feel true fulfillment. So here's the deal, y'all. I'm not going to go off because we'll be on here for 10 hours of a worthy watch party. But separate of your victories and achievements or past mistakes and failures, you are fully worthy. Like true self-worth is knowing you are fully innately worthy right now, in this very moment, exactly as you are. Whew, that is chapter 1, by the way. So let me go through some of these a little faster. But y'all, we didn't come here to play. Like, your time is precious, and decades of my life, I couldn't understand why I felt like something was missing, or why I sabotaged opportunities, etc. This has been the one thing that's changed everything in my life. So I'm just honored to share it with you. Okay, chapter 2 is called Change Your Relationship with Rejection, Change Your Entire Life. If you feel stuck in life, or if you've had, the fear of rejection or failure, or if you've ever felt like you are a failure, and I only say that because so many of you guys write in and say that to me, that you feel that way. This chapter is going to be life-changing for you. Chapter 2 called Change Your Relationship with Rejection, Change Your Life. Chapter 3 is called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. You're not crazy, you're just first. If you have ever felt like you're different, or like who you are isn't enough, or like you don't belong, this chapter reframes that and will set you free. I am going to come back in a minute, actually, because I really want to share a powerful lesson and a tool with you in words that I hope speak to your soul that you can apply to your life right now. Chapter 4, you have greatness inside of you. This is all about how your past doesn't determine your future. It's all about how your past mistakes or past pain or past regrets, past failures doesn't determine your worthiness, and how where you come from doesn't have to determine where you're going. Okay, if you're someone who feels like you've made too many mistakes, been too hurt, or maybe you feel like you've hurt others too many times, or
maybe you feel like you're somehow damaged or broken or have been carrying around shame. I share some of the things in my past for the first time ever in this chapter. And I share things that most of my family doesn't know, that many who read it might shame me for. But I'm sharing them because this book isn't about me, right? This book is about the one person reading it. Maybe that is you, who needs to know that you are not alone, right? That your past, as my dear friend Ed Milet says, your past does not disqualify you from your dreams. And this chapter, I almost deleted a few times because I know how shocking it's going to be to a lot of people in my family. But here's the thing, y'all. The story the press loves to share about me looks like, the highlight reel, right? It looks like the highlight reel. And Denny's waitress builds $1 billion company, and that's all true. But this isn't a book about my story. This is a book about your story, right? When I wrote Believe It, it was my journey of learning to believe in myself up until that point. Worthy is the playbook on how you can believe in you. And I just knew I cannot allow this chapter to be deleted because I know what I know. And it is for the one person, and maybe it's you, who feels like what you've done in the past and the shame you've been carrying around for it has caused you to have deep self-worth issues where you identify as someone who's broken or shameful or made too many mistakes and all that, and that you're sort of putting up this barrier of belief of how, we opened tonight talking about how in life you don't rise to what you believe is possible, you fall to what you believe you're worthy of. This chapter is about reframing and shifting what you know. I'm not even going to say what you believe, what you know you're worthy of, regardless of past mistakes or anything that's happened in the past.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima!
Baby Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.